Joanna. Joanna. All right. Hey, kids. It's Miss Greer Koja. And we're starting our second grade Rockin' Math Review. Can you look at this photo and tell me what do you think it has to do with our lesson this week? Ooh. All right. We shall see what this photo has to do with our lesson. Quick review. Let's count up the coins. First coin is a nickel. The nickel represents how much? So add it up. You have a couple of seconds. All right, each nickel is 5 cents. So we have to do what? Calculate it. And what is your calculation? 30 cents. The next one is 10 cents. Okay, that is a dime. Yes, a dime equals 10 cents. Let's calculate this. You have 30 seconds. It gives you $1. You have to count the coins. This gives you $1. You see your dollar sign and your decimal. Okay. If you got this correct, give yourself a pat on the back. Good job. This also has to do with skip counting. So just remember that too. We went over that a couple of videos ago. Let's move on. So we're going to talk about our objective this week. Our objective is I can draw a picture graph and solve simple problems. Okay? I can draw a picture graph and solve simple problems. So, I have a question. What's your question? Our essential question is, why do we need graphs? Can anybody think about why do we need graphs? What is the purpose of a graph? Why do we need graphs? I'll let you figure that out as we go through the slides, okay? So our next one is going over vocabulary. Always have to have vocabulary. The title, pictograph, data, key, legend, axes, horizontal axes, and vertical axis. No, excuse me, horizontal axis, vertical axis. As we look at this anchor chart, which is something that we would have done in class, we would have went ahead and designed it. This one is already designed for us. It has graphs, pictograph. The purpose of a pictograph is to compare data using pictures or symbols, okay? So it's using pictures or symbols. The next part is we're looking at categories here. Categories tell specific types of data, okay? You have your vertical axis. This part right here refers to the line on the graph that runs up and down. So that goes up and down. Then you have your horizontal axis, which is this goes from left to right, okay? You have to have a title. The title usually tells you what is the graph about. You have symbols that represent certain amount of data, always greater than 1. And then you have your key or legend, which tells you the value of each symbol. All right. So let's take a look at more vocabulary. You have data, a collection of information to be analyzed. Some people say data, some people say data. You know what it is. A collection of information to be analyzed. Key or legend is a label that shows what items on a graph represent. As you see this arrow right here, this cookie represents $100. Okay, moving on. So we have to look at different type of pictographs. Okay, different type of pictographs. Here are some. Why do you think we call these pictographs? Why do you think we call these type of graphs pictographs? Are there pictures in the graph? Pictograph is another way we can show data, okay? Pictograph is another way we can show data. As you see, several of them have titles. Most of them have a legend or a key. You have categories, and they're represented by different pictures, all right? So, I took a survey from the store, the school store. So I took a survey on how many kids like Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemon Heads, and Lollipops. And this is the answer that I received. I received that 4 students or 4 scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, 2 scholars brought Skittles, 6 scholars brought Lemon Heads, and 3 scholars brought Lollipops. So if I'm making a pictograph, I'm going to use my data to go ahead and create my pictograph. As we see, we already have our category, Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemon Heads. All right. Next thing we're going to put on our pictograph is our title, 2nd grade's favorite candy. The next thing we're going to put on there is what? We're going to put scholars brought. So how many candies did scholars buy? That's going to be on our horizontal axis. On our vertical axis, we have our Jolly Ranchers and our types of candy, okay? Next, let's bring in our candy. That equals 1 scholar. So 1 piece of candy equals 1 scholar. Ranchers, remember 1, 2, 3, 4 scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, 2 scholars brought Skittles, 6 scholars brought Lemon Heads, and 3 scholars brought Lollipops. Wasn't that easy? That was easy. You can create your own pictograph. So we're going to do the next part in our objective, which is solve simple problems. Okay, here we go. Number 1, how many scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemon Heads, and Lollipops? This should be easy. All we're doing is adding it up. Number 2, which category has the fewest scholars buying candy? Number 3, which category has the most students buying candy? And number 4, how many fewer scholars brought Skittles than Lemon Heads? So number 1, how many scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemon Heads, and Lollipops? Let's see our answer and how we got it. 15 scholars. We simply added 4 plus 2 plus 6 plus 3 equals 15. The next one, which category has the fewest scholars buying Skittles? The least one. Skittles has the fewest scholars buying candy. And that's only 2 pieces of candy. Which category has the most scholars buying candy? That's right, Lemon Heads. and that has 6. Number 4, how many fewer scholars brought Skittles than Lemonheads? You have 4 scholars brought Skittles compared to Lemonheads. So you have your equation, 6 Lemonheads minus 2 Skittles. So that gives you 4. Next one. So what if we change how much each candy represented? Instead of it representing 1 scholar, let's change it to 1 piece of candy represents 5 scholars. You think you'll be able to do this? Yes, you can. So let's go back to that first question. How many scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemonheads, and Lollipops? If each candy represents 5 scholars, so you would have to go through and count. 5. What's the next one? 10. You got it. 15, 20, 25, 30. You keep on going. 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. Is that correct? Let's count that again. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75. That's how you get the first answer. 75 scholars. You add it up. The next one. How many more scholars purchased Jolly Ranchers than Lollipops? So let's go to Jolly Ranchers. 5, 10, 15, 20. That's where you have 20. Minus Lollipops. How many Lollipops do we have? 5, 10, 15. So you have 5 more scholars that purchased Jolly Ranchers than Lollipops. The next one. How many scholars bought Lollipops and Skittles? So where's Lollipops at? Here we go. 5, 10, 15. And Skittles, 20, 25. Let's see if we got that right. 25 scholars. We just did the addition. 15 plus 10 equals 25. Which type of candy was brought by 20 scholars? You can go up here and you have to find which type of candy equals 20 scholars purchased. So 5, 10, 15, 20. That is Jolly Ranchers. Okay. Let's go to the next one. I want you to show me your work on this one. So last time it was 1 piece of candy equaled 1 scholar. The next time we did it, 1 piece of candy equaled 5 scholars. This one piece of candy equals 10 scholars, okay? 1 piece of candy equals 10 or represent, 10 scholars. Let's look at it. I want you to answer the question. Let's go through the question. How many scholars brought Jolly Ranchers, Skittles, Lemonheads, and Lollipops? Question number 1. Question number 2. How many more scholars purchased Lemonheads than Lollipops? Question number 3. How many scholars brought Jolly Ranchers and Skittles? Question number 4. Which type of candy was brought by 80 scholars? Next one. What is the title of this pictograph? The next one. How does a picture help us organize information from a survey? All right, as always, I want you to show your work. I would love for you to complete the questions and send it to me, okay? This is a time where you can either pause it so that you'll be able to complete it. As always, send me a picture of your work. All this candy. Love you guys. Bye.